I tried to play a joke on my boyfriend at a party to impress my friends. Now he's vanished and I think I've ruined everything. Okay, Reddit, I know I messed up. I'm not here for validation. I need someone to tell me exactly how bad this is, because I'm sitting here in the wreckage of my apartment, hungover and shaking, and I feel like my world is actually ending. I can't think straight. Last night we were at a party. It was mostly with my new work friends, and I was trying so hard to be cool to fit in. In a moment of drunken, pathetic stupidity, I decided it would be hilarious to prank my boyfriend, Christopher. I walked over to our mutual friend, Kyle, and very theatrically kissed him on the cheek in front of everyone. The room went quiet for a second, and then a few people laughed awkwardly. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part is that I turned to Christopher, who was just watching with this confused look on his face, and I said the most horrible, unforgivable thing. I smiled, this smug, awful smile, and said, "See, at least someone here knows how to be fun." He didn't scream, he didn't argue. He just looked at me, and his face went completely blank. It was like a shutter had come down. He just nodded once very slowly and said, "Okay." Then he turned around and walked out of the party. He's not answering my calls. My texts aren't delivering. I think he's blocked me everywhere. It's been 12 hours of pure silence. I keep replaying that moment in my head, the look on his face. It wasn't anger. It was recognition, like he was finally seeing who I really was. Please just tell me, how do I fix something like this? Is it even fixable? To understand how monumentally I screwed up, you need to understand Christopher. He's a data analyst. He's quiet, methodical, and has this calm, grounding presence that has been the anchor of my life for the past 3 years. He's the kind of guy who remembers my ridiculously complicated coffee order, who can assemble a flat-pack wardrobe without a single curse word, and who will listen for an hour about my office drama without ever looking at his phone. In fact, he's the one who helped me get this new job. He spent a week coaching me, running mock interviews, and was the first person I called, screaming with joy, when they gave me the offer. He was genuinely thrilled for me. Our life wasn't exciting by my new friend's standards. It was built on comfortable routines. Sunday mornings doing the crossword, him patiently teaching me the rules to some complex board game he loved, the way he'd always save me the last bite of dessert. It was a quiet love, a safe love. A love I took for granted and, in the end, held in contempt. About 6 months ago, I started my new marketing job, and with it came a new circle of friends. They're different. They're loud, sharp, and effortlessly cool. They work in creative fields, wear designer clothes ironically, and their conversations are a performance of witty, fast-paced banter that I was always struggling to keep up with. I was so desperate to be accepted by them. And next to their glittering lives, Christopher's quiet stability started to feel boring. I started seeing him through their eyes. A few weeks ago, at a bar, one of them was ironically complaining about their landlord. And Christopher, trying to be helpful, started giving earnest, practical advice. The table went silent. My coworker just stared at him and said, "Dude, it was a bit." I felt my face burn with a shame that was entirely my own. In that moment, I stopped seeing him as my partner and started seeing him as a social handicap. And here's the part that's making me physically sick to my stomach right now. He warned me. About a year ago, we were in bed, talking in the dark, and I asked him about his serious ex-girlfriend. He told me he ended their 5-year relationship the day after Christmas. At her family dinner, she had made a joke to her snobby uncle, mocking his career choice as playing with spreadsheets for a living, just to get a laugh. He wasn't angry when he told the story, he was just factual. "It wasn't just the joke, Nat," he said, his voice steady in the darkness. "It was the public betrayal. The realization that she would use me, the person she was supposed to protect, as a social stepping stone to impress people she didn't even like." He paused, and I could feel the weight of that memory in the room. Then he turned to me. "I can never be with someone who doesn't respect me, especially not in front of other people. It's my one hard line, a total deal breaker." I remember nodding, saying something hollow and reassuring like, "Of course, babe, I get it. I would never do that." But I didn't, did I? I didn't get it at all. I heard the words, but I wasn't listening. I treated his deepest wound, his most clearly stated boundary, like a throwaway line in a movie. I thought I was different. I thought I was the exception. The party was at my coworker Amelia's apartment. It was one of those effortlessly cool industrial loft conversions you see in magazines: exposed brick, oversized abstract art, and a turntable spinning some obscure indie band I'd never heard of. It smelled like expensive candles and success. It made our cozy, slightly cluttered apartment, filled with second-hand books and framed photos of us, feel hopelessly suburban and childish. I had been looking forward to it all week, picking out my outfit with a kind of nervous, frantic energy. I wanted to impress them. I wanted them to see me not as Christopher's quiet girlfriend, but as Natalie, the fun, sharp marketing exec. Christopher, bless his heart, was just trying to be supportive. He'd even stopped at a specialty liquor store to buy a bottle of Japanese whiskey Amelia had mentioned she liked once. A thoughtful gesture that, at the time, I barely acknowledged with a distracted, "Oh, cool, thanks." From the moment we arrived, I felt that familiar, prickly insecurity crawling up my spine. Christopher, after a slightly awkward lap of the room, found a small group by the window talking about a new WWII documentary. I watched him settle in, his shoulders relaxing as he found his footing in a conversation about something real and substantive. He was happy. Meanwhile, I was flitting around the main group like a nervous moth, laughing too loudly at jokes I didn't quite get, nursing a gin and tonic that was rapidly becoming more gin than tonic. The more I drank, the more I felt this chasm opening between the life I had with him and the life I so desperately wanted to project. About 2 hours in, I was standing with the core group of my cool friends, including Kyle. Kyle is, well, he's everything Christopher isn't. He's a freelance photographer, impulsive and charming, always the center of attention with some wild story about a shoot in Ibiza or a celebrity he'd just met. They started teasing me in that way that's half joking and half genuinely judgmental. "Natalie, where's your other half?" Amelia asked, smirking over her wine glass. "Oh, let me guess, is he beta testing a new spreadsheet in the corner?" Someone else chimed in, "God, he's so earnest. It's almost performance art. How do you do it?" I'd die of boredom. Each comment was a little pinprick to my ego, deflating me. Instead of defending the man I loved, instead of telling them to shut the hell up, I felt this toxic, urgent need to prove them wrong, not by highlighting Christopher's amazing qualities, but by showing them that I wasn't boring by association, that I could be just as spontaneous and edgy as they were. The alcohol, the insecurity, the desperate need for validation, it all swirled into a single, catastrophic idea. In my drunken, pathetic mind, it felt brilliant, a perfect little piece of social theater that would finally make them see me as one of them. I saw Kyle leaning against the kitchen counter, laughing at something on his phone. I saw Christopher across the room, smiling politely at someone's story, the picture of gentle decency. And the attention-seeking monster in my brain took over. "Hey guys, watch this," I slurred, my voice a little too loud. I felt like an actress stepping onto a stage of my own making. I walked over to Kyle, my heart pounding with a sick, performative thrill. He looked up, surprised, as I grabbed his face with both hands. "For the content," I yelled, a phrase I'd heard them use 1,000,000 times. Then I pressed my lips to his cheek. It wasn't passionate, it was just loud. A spectacle. The group hooted and hollered. High on their fleeting, worthless approval, I turned to find Christopher. He was already looking at me, his smile gone, his eyes wide with confusion. That's when I delivered the final, fatal blow, my voice ringing out with a false, manic confidence. "See, at least Kyle knows how to be fun." It wasn't the kiss that did it. It was the words. The moment they left my mouth, I felt the entire atmosphere in the room shift. It was a physical change, like a sudden drop in air pressure. The drunken, boisterous energy just evaporated. The laughter from my friends died in their throats, replaced by a collective, awkward intake of breath. For a split second, the only sound was the pretentious indie music from the turntable, a soundtrack to my social suicide. Christopher's reaction wasn't what I expected. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation. In a way, that would have been so much easier to handle. Anger is an emotion you can engage with, argue against, apologize to. But he gave me nothing. He just stood there about 20 feet away, and all the warmth, all the life, drained from his face. It was like watching a statue. He didn't look angry or hurt, not at first. He looked analytical. It was the same focused, detached expression he got when he was trying to find a bug in a line of code. He was processing data, and the data was me. He was observing a specimen that had just done something profoundly disappointing, but entirely predictable. The look wasn't for Natalie, his girlfriend of 3 years. It was for a stranger who had just revealed a fatal character flaw. He slowly put his half-full glass of whiskey down on a nearby table. The click of the glass on the wood was quiet, but in the sudden silence, it sounded like a gavel. He looked at me, his eyes completely unreadable, and he gave a single, tiny nod. It wasn't a nod of anger. It was a nod of confirmation. A nod that said, "Ah, so this is who you are? The warning I gave myself was correct." And then he spoke, his voice perfectly level, not loud enough to be a scene, but clear enough for everyone to hear. "Okay, Natalie," he said, "I get it." That was it. I get it. 3 simple words that felt like a guillotine. He didn't look at Kyle, who was now trying to physically merge with the kitchen counter behind him. He didn't look at Amelia or any of my other stupid, shocked friends. His focus was entirely on me, but it was the focus of someone closing a file, not engaging in a fight. He just turned, with the kind of finality you see in movies, and walked towards the door. He didn't storm out, he just exited. He moved with a calm, unhurried purpose that was more terrifying than any rage could have been. The door clicked shut behind him, and the silence he left in his wake was deafening. My carefully constructed performance had crumbled into dust. I was standing there in the middle of the room with a stupid, frozen smile on my face, the punchline to a joke nobody found funny. Kyle took a visible step away from me, suddenly fascinated by his own shoes. Amelia was staring at me, her mouth slightly open, not with sympathy, but with a kind of horrified pity, the way you'd look at a car crash. I had misread the room, the man I loved my entire life completely. I thought I was putting on a show for them, but in reality, I had just become the cringeworthy, tragic act. I wasn't the cool, edgy girl. I was the cruel, pathetic one who had just publicly executed her own relationship for a few seconds of cheap, worthless attention. And in that moment, under the weight of their silent judgment, I realized I was completely and utterly alone. The next morning, I woke up fully clothed on top of my duvet, my head pounding with a rhythm of cheap gin and pure dread. My mouth tasted like ash. For a blissful, stupid second, I didn't remember. Then it all came flooding back in a single, nauseating wave. The party, the kiss, the look on his face. The click of the door. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. I grabbed my phone, my thumb fumbling as I tried to open his contact. My hands were shaking too much to type a coherent sentence. I managed a frantic, misspelled apology. "Chris, I am so sorry I was drunk and stupid. I love you, please call me." It wouldn't send. A small, red exclamation mark appeared next to it. "Message not delivered." My breath caught in my throat. I tried WhatsApp. His profile picture was gone, replaced by the gray, anonymous default. My message sat there with one gray tick. Blocked. I went to Instagram, my heart hammering against my ribs. I typed his username into the search bar. His profile, once a familiar grid of our hikes, his goofy dog, and our holidays, was gone. User not found. Blocked. Facebook. Blocked. Every digital door had been slammed shut, locked, and bolted. But that was just the beginning. The real horror, the part that showed me this wasn't just a fit of anger, started an hour later. An email landed in my inbox with a subject line that made my blood run cold. "Ray, apartment application, withdrawal 14 billion Orchard Hill." It was from the property management company for the beautiful 2-bedroom apartment we were supposed to move into next month. The apartment I'd spent weeks dreaming about, picking out paint swatches for, the place where we were going to start our adult life. The email was brief and brutally professional. It informed me that Mr. Christopher Davies had formally withdrawn his half of the application and forfeited his portion of the security deposit, effective immediately. As such, the application was now void. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. I felt a hysterical laugh bubble up in my chest. He must have done it first thing this morning. While I was passed out in a drunken stupor, he was already dismantling our future. As I was staring at the screen, another email notification popped up. This one was from the airline. "Your itinerary has been canceled." Our trip to Italy. The one we'd been planning for our anniversary, the trip he'd been so excited about, where I suspected he might even propose. He had canceled the flights. A second email arrived moments later from my banking app. A new deposit had been made into my account for $742.50. The amount was exactly half of what the flights had cost. The transaction description was just 2 words: final settlement. It was the chilling efficiency of it all that broke me. This wasn't a ghosting. Ghosting is passive. This was an active, systematic demolition. He wasn't just angry, he was organized. He was surgically removing himself from every aspect of the life we had been building together, cutting each tie with cold, logistical precision. There was no room for argument, no opening for a tearful apology, no chance to plead my case. He was simply erasing our shared existence. He was treating our breakup like a project he had to manage. And he was executing it with the same quiet competence he applied to everything else in his life. In the days that followed, I tried to rally my troops. I called Amelia, hoping for some commiseration, some he's overreacting comfort. Her voice was strained and distant. "Oh, wow, Nat. That's intense," she said, followed by a long, awkward pause. "Listen, I'm just slammed with the new campaign. Can I call you back?" She never did. I texted Kyle a simple "Hey, can we talk?" His reply came back hours later. "Look, I'm really sorry about what happened, but I don't want to get in the middle of it. Hope you guys work it out." The message was clear. I wasn't part of their circle. I was just the entertainment, and the show was over. They weren't my friends. They were just an audience I had performed for, and when the performance turned tragic, they quietly filed out of the theater. The final, crushing blow came from our mutual friend, a sweet girl named Becca who had known Christopher since college. I called her, sobbing, telling her the whole pathetic story. She listened patiently. When I finished, she sighed, a heavy, weary sound. "Natalie," she said, her voice gentle but firm, "I love you, but you know about his ex. He told you that was his line in the sand. What did you think was going to happen?" She told me she'd spoken to him, not because he was complaining, but because she had reached out, worried. "He's not angry, Nat," she said, and this was the part that killed me. "He's just done." He said he felt like he was watching a stranger and realized he'd been ignoring red flags for months because he wanted to believe you were someone else. He said, "She showed me exactly who she is. I have to believe her." Defeated, I retreated into the digital hellscape of the truly desperate. I made a new, anonymous Instagram account, a sad little profile with 0 followers and 0 posts. And that's where I live now. I spend my hours, my nights, my entire pathetic existence watching him. He hasn't blocked this new account yet. He probably doesn't even know it's me. He's not posting anything dramatic or sad. That's the worst part. He's just living. 2 days ago, he posted a photo from a hiking trail, the sun filtering through the trees. The caption read, "Clearing out the noise, a fresh start." Yesterday, a picture of his dog happily chewing on a new toy. He's already moving on. He's already clearing me out like clutter. And me, I'm trapped. I lost the man who was my home, and I lost the glittering, hollow audience I sacrificed him for. I'm left with nothing but the echo of my own stupid, cruel words in an apartment that suddenly feels way too big for one person. I sit in the dark, refreshing his page, watching the man I love systematically and efficiently build a new life from the rubble of the one I so carelessly destroyed. I wasn't just a fool. I was the architect of my own lonely, little hell.